Hey, what's up, mother Funkos? The Walking Dead has slowly but surely grown into one of the biggest Funko Pop lines. It's very popular and some of them have gotten very valuable, going for anywhere from $80 to several $100s. But for this list, I'm not going to focus on value or popularity of a certain character. Like, one of my favorite characters is Maggie, but I don't think her pop is very eye-catching or detailed or even recognizable as Maggie outside of the box. I really hope they redo that one. And for none of my top 10s do I focus really on value. It's nice when Funko Pops do go up in value, but it really has no bearing on where I put it on the list, because I tend to focus mostly on design, eye-catching paint jobs, accuracy, and just overall coolness factor of the pops. The theme for this list was voted on by my patrons over at Patreon, so if you'd like to vote and decide what lists I do in the future, consider checking out my Patreon and signing up. You can for as little as $1. Remember, this is just my opinion. You may agree or disagree, this is just my opinion. Before I get into the top 10, I'm going to start with some honorable mentions. The Michonne pop is instantly recognizable outside of the box. It's one of the more detailed human characters in the series. I really like her stance, the fact that they gave her sword, and the details in her headband are really nice. I really like the zombie version of Sasha. I like the color they chose to make that skin look nice and clammy and lifeless, and also the color for the eyes to make her look dead. And instead of just splattering her with blood, they actually painted on some nice blood effects by the mouth, and they sculpted in the mouth as well. It just looks really good. Shiva is probably the most unique pop in the whole series, and it is a little bit of a ridiculous character in the show, and I'm glad they didn't just repaint one of the existing kind of cat or tiger pops. They really did give her a ferocious looking face. It's definitely a nice one to have in the collection. It adds a nice variety, and just overall it's painted well and sculpted really well. The tank zombie is just a very classic looking zombie. Even the way they sculpted the body looks like it's kind of limping about. They got the skin just right, the hands look cool. It's just a great looking zombie pop. And now on to the best, starting with number 10. The injured Daryl Dixon, I think, is the best representation of this character, because in the show, the human characters do go through so many hardships, so this injured version is just better to me. I like the detail of the necklace with the ears, the way he's holding the arrow, the way they did the eyes. He really does look like he's in pain. The bruises and scrapes are done very well, and I like the shading in the pants. It makes him look dirty. All these little details make this otherwise kind of plain sculpt really look good. What I like about the RV Walker is that he's a zombie, of course. The zombies are really cool. He's done well, the sculpt is great. I love the paint job with that brown wash over that kind of very light greenish cream gray kind of color. Really, it's a nice effect that really looks good on the hands and the head. But what I really like about this one is that you can see the way this guy died, with a screwdriver through the eye. One of the biggest criteria I use to determine if I actually like a Funko Pop, whether it's good or bad, is how recognizable it is outside of the box. And Negan is one of those that is instantly recognizable as a character of Negan outside of the box. They got his 5 o'clock shadow just right, the hair, the mustache, his Bat Lucille, his jacket, even the way his pants are tucked into his boots. It just looks really good. There's a blood spattered version, but it's a little weak, so I mean, to me it doesn't matter which one you have. They both look almost the same, because the blood spatter isn't very noticeable. Like, it would have been better if they would have put like a lot of blood on the bat, but to me they're pretty interchangeable. But yeah, overall this is an excellent sculpt for this character. Great pose, and it's definitely one of the better pops in the line. The Bicycle Girl has got to be one of the most gruesome and creepy pops that Funko has ever made. The paint job is great, especially in the eyes. They really made them look raw and gory, and the missing skin around the mouth with the teeth exposed is really gross looking. But I think what makes this pop so cool is that she's dragging herself on her rib cage. It's just gross and exactly what a zombie should be. Really a great sculpt. It's creative and very different from any other pop. This thing is perfect if you're going to make like some kind of actual diorama with your Walking Dead pops. She's just incredible looking. Here is another really cool zombie, and what I like about this one is that you could tell what this zombie was when he was alive, and he was a prison guard. He's got very excellent details on his riot gear, right down to little nicks and scratches on the helmet. I really like the way they did the blood on this guy. Instead of just spattering it with a little bit of blood on top of everything, they actually painted on some nice bloody details on the face. So it's really bright and noticeable. This one also has an exclusive where he's blood spattered, but you know, the common has the actual big dripping blood pattern on it. So the blood spattering is barely noticeable. Really not worth paying extra for it. I actually prefer this one. I really like how much attention to detail Funko pays with the zombies. Like, look at the little extra red line around the eyes. They didn't really have to put that, but it's a really nice touch. And this pop is actually unique in that his face shield actually opens up. Not a lot of pops have features like that, but this one, if you wanted to, you could display him outside of the box with his visor up, which is kind of cool. The Woodbury Walker. Yes, it's another zombie, but the zombies just blow the human characters out of the water when you put them side to side. If you take out all the Walking Dead pops and display them together, your eyes just go right to the zombies because they are so cool looking. With this one, they put a red wash over the skin tone to make him look like he's decaying. The raw flesh around the mouth is really gross. Again, they sculpted in the teeth, which look great. The way they did the hands on this one, it looks like he's reaching out to try to grab you. And he's got blood all over his clothes, so it kind of looks like he's already eaten several people. And the eyes look really good on this one with the red all the way around. And instead of just making them all white, they added a little bit of that kind of pink exposed eyelid underneath. Makes it look really good. And the hair sculpt is good on this one as well. Just another perfect looking zombie. Headless Herschel Green wasn't the first headless pop. That was Ned Stark. But this was still pretty early before Funko Pops really blew up. So it was still a really cool feature and unique and very different from other pops at the time. And they made them super bloody and gory. You can remove the head and put it back on. It's attached with a magnet. And it's a feature that really elevates this character because Herschel, I mean, I guess a lot of people like him, but to me, he was a little bit of a boring character. He's not a character that I would run out and say, man, I really need to add him to my collection. But when you make him headless like this, it really does add to the taboo factor of the pop. It's just a great example of Funko figuring out a way to make a character way more interesting in pop form. The Teddy Bear Girl is a perfect example of a character that isn't really a character. She's only in it for a few seconds. She's the first zombie that Rick sees, and the show really starts out with a bang. Because now you got a cop character shooting a little girl right in the head. After I saw that, I knew I was in for a great ride. Those first 2 seasons were some of the best seasons of any show, and it all started with this zombie. And Funko did a really good job of making her look exactly the way that little girl looked in the show. And this one does have some great little details too, like her little bunny slippers, the pattern on her pajamas, and they even put her braces in and painted them with metallic silver paint. Just a great touch. And she was a fresh zombie, so she doesn't have the wash over her skin to make her look more decayed. They just did a perfect job with this one. The Burning Walker is one of my favorite all-time pops, and I think it is one of the best San Diego Comic-Con exclusives they've ever made. It's not a repaint, they didn't just add something to an existing mold, they didn't just make it glow in the dark, it's not an update on an existing character, everything's new about it. That really makes a convention exclusive special in my book, but its exclusivity doesn't really matter. What matters here is how amazing the sculpt is. I like the way he's a little pigeon-toed. He looks like he's moving like a zombie, even though it's just a static figure. Funko has really perfected the way they paint the skin on the zombies because this is the newest zombie, and you can really tell that they've really honed in that technique with the washes over the different colors to make the skin look really dead, really rotting, and really gross. Like all the other zombies, the mouth is sculpted in, which is so very important because what makes zombies scary is that they literally bite you and try to eat you. So the mouths are very, very important, and it's done really well. Instead of just putting a red line around the eyes this time, they actually sculpted in sockets and put the trademark round Funko eye inside of that in a pale yellow color. It looks really good. But what really puts it over the top is the translucent fire effect. They balanced it out really well on the pop with some of it on his arms, on his body, on his foot, and on his head. And it's not just orange plastic with some highlights on it, it's actually translucent, and it really does look like fire. It's one of the first times they use that translucent effect for fire, and now they use it all the time because it looks very nice. So this pop was a trailblazer in that regard. Just one of the best pops of all time. And no surprise here, of course, the number one Walking Dead pop is another zombie, and that is the Well Walker. What makes this one different from the other zombies is that he also doesn't have a shirt, so that awesome effect that Funko does on the skin is carried on throughout his whole body, so it makes him extra gross looking. I feel like the sculpt on the mouth is better on this one than any of the other ones, and the red paint on the mouth is a little bit more subtle, it's a little bit more realistic looking. The way they did the hair looks really good, I mean it looks wet, and I really like the way they did the eyes kind of more closed on this one. Just makes him look more zombie-like, more brain dead. It's just a really nice effect. And of course, another thing that makes this one very unique is that he comes apart at the midsection. Just like in the show, they continue that on to the actual pop, and it looks awesome. I mean, his spine bone sticking out, you can see his intestines and guts. You can display him either way, and he looks great. Especially if you display him kind of half off his base, so you can see the guts, but he's still kind of together. Definitely one of the grossest pops of all time. Definitely the best zombie pop, and just the best Walking Dead pop in general. I'm very fortunate to have this one. It's one of my favorite ones in my collection, and I just love everything about it. Alright guys, that was my top 10 Walking Dead Funko Pops. I know it was mostly zombies, but to me they really are the best ones. And I feel like if Funko felt like it, they could come out with another Walking Dead series and just have it be all zombies. Just 6 zombies. And I know it would sell really well because literally every single zombie they've made has gone up in value. They're all kind of expensive. And it's mainly because they just look so cool. I know I put the Well Walker at number 1, but literally any of the zombies from The Walking Dead could be considered number 1 because they all do look so good with some of the best paint jobs Funko has ever done. Let me know in the comments below whether you agree or disagree, what you think the number 1 is, what pops you think I overlooked and should be on this list, what pops you think shouldn't be on this list, what Walking Dead pops do you wish Funko would make or remake? I know I would like a new Shane and a new Maggie for sure, or anything else you'd like to say. Thanks for watching and take it easy.